everybody. Greetings. Welcome. This is the Squares of the Round Table podcast, episode number 5.
Number 5? We're at 5?
Yes, number 5 is live. With me is Jeff Stein.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are.
That's right. Yeah, Ivan cannot make it with us today. He is helping his ailing girlfriend, so we wish her the best. And a speedy recovery to Julie, sending out those thoughts and prayers like we do on the internet.
Yes. If we were Casey Kasem, we could send out a special request or something like that, but I don't think we've paid for rights for internet music, so otherwise we'd do that.
Julie, here's your request and dedication.
Have you ever heard the outtakes of, like...
Oh, yes.
Old like the one where he's complaining about
a dead puppy.
That dog?
Yeah. So, we are Ivanless this week, so you could say we're flying solo.
Oh, wow. That was, wow. Okay. Yep. Really?
Yep.
Okay. Well, so we're going to talk, like Mike said, we're going to talk about Solo today. We're also going to talk about the Krypton Season 1. And we've got a few other surprises in mind that we're going to be talking about today. So I guess let's just get down to it. I guess we'll start with Solo. If you do not want to listen to Solo spoilers, probably go about 15, 20 minutes in, and we're going to give you a couple seconds for breathing room.
Okay.
We're
safe. We've
turn back now or forever hold your peace.
We jumped back out of hyperspace to discuss Star Wars Solo.
Right. No. Your thoughts, Mike?
Right off the bat, 7.5 out of 10. It was not that bad a film. I liked it. It was just a good standalone story. The stakes were somewhat low, and I'm okay with that. The narrative was a little back and forth, kind of jumpy, but I still had fun with it, and I liked the guy who played Han. Mm-hmm. And I did like Woody Harrelson's character, and the chick from Game of Thrones. She was just okay for me. But she was the love interest. She had to be there. And I liked it. It was just okay for me. I'll buy the DVD, but I don't think I'm going to go to the theater to see it again.
I haven't really felt the need to go to anything in the theater yet again so far, as much as there are things I could. Maybe it's just I don't really feel like spending the money right now. But let me put this in perspective to all my friends who are aware. In the history of my life, in terms of top fictional characters that are my favorite all time, Han Solo is probably is easily in the top 5. He might be number 1. So for there to be a Han Solo movie has been something that I've wanted for a long time, and I'm thrilled about that. You know, there was some talk during production that they made a change. The guys who were doing, I think it was the Lego movie, were originally doing it, and then they ended up out of it, and then it turned into Ron Howard. I gotta be honest, I really enjoyed this movie. Are there aspects of it that I can nitpick? There absolutely are.
Yep.
But I enjoyed this more than Last Jedi. I enjoyed this more than Rogue One.
Oh, see, I disagree with that.
Well, I enjoyed this more than Rogue One.
Okay.
And this movie I really enjoyed. Of the new movies, Force Awakens, then this. Of the 4 now new movies, this to me is number 2 with a bullet of the 4 new ones.
Okay.
And the reason for me is, like I said, I'm a huge Han Solo fan. In the extended universe before Disney bought it, I've done a lot of reading up on this character, and this character has a rich, unique, interesting background, and I was ready. I was looking forward to the opportunity to learn, to have that opportunity for the world to see Han Solo before Luke Skywalker and Ben Kenobi walked into the Mos Eisley Cantina, because I think there's a lot of stories to tell there. And this movie was really fast-paced. I felt like it was definitely more of a heist-type movie. There was definitely that feel to it. Other aspects I wanted more of, I did. But at the same time, like I said, I just felt like I enjoyed having Han Solo back, or Han Solo back, which way you want to go. It was great to have Chewbacca back. It's great to have Han Solo and Chewbacca together again and be able to watch a movie like that. And it's a lot of fun. I do think there were some interesting pieces and aspects that we got out of this. Like, for example, for anybody who's a Star Wars fan who knows anything about the Millennium Falcon, there's always been talk about the fact that there are multiple droid brains within the Falcon. We now have learned how that happened. We got to see the Kessel Run and see how that worked. Now, I'll be honest, I thought the Kessel Run could have been a little bit more interesting.
I agree.
But I'm glad we had the chance to see it. We finally got to see Corellia, which, again, my background, I play Star Wars role-playing games. I'm a big fan. To me, I always thought Corellia was very similar to Coruscant. I was incredibly surprised that Corellia is kind of like a Gotham or a Pittsburgh or something along those lines, where it's not as pretty as Coruscant. It's almost purposely made to be that city on the other side of the bay, or I guess that city on the other side of the core, that planet on the other side of the core worlds. Again, like I said, the elements to me that I love about Star Wars the most are those shades of gray that we don't get to see a lot in Star Wars. We see the rebels, we see the Empire. Those little things in between are the ones where I've always been fascinated.
Yeah, and I'm glad that the Empire was not the main focus of this story.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely.
I'd love to get more criminal element, gangster type stuff.
Right, and that to me, I think, well, not just the criminal element, but we didn't really get enough. This was more criminal. We haven't looked at things like the Independents or the smugglers or the guys who are in between, who aren't the rebels, and they aren't the Imperials, or for that matter, you're not a corporate type, which we've never explored that. There's an entire corporate sector that's out there within Star Wars that I don't know if it'll ever get touched in the world of Disney. I just don't know. And to me, this was an opportunity to open some of those doors and see new places and uniqueness to what we can see. And to me, that's what was exciting about it. I'm curious your take. What was your thoughts on Lando?
He was fine. It was great. The card scenes when they're playing Bacchus is the name of that card game? Yeah. Those were great. I love those scenes. There are a couple of great scenes with Michael B. Jordan as Lando. Some people say it was more of an imitation of Billy D. Williams instead of his own interpretation of Lando Calrissian, but I still really liked it. I liked the relationship between him and L3. Not that the internet kind of overplayed that, and I think that was kind of dumb, but that's the internet for you. I really liked. There's just scenes between Han and Chewie that were just amazingly great. I liked this movie, but there are a lot of tiny nuggets of it that I absolutely loved. Like when Chewie sits in the co-pilot seat for the first time and you hear that music, that music swells up and you're like, yeah! Love that. I liked Michael B. Jordan as Lando. I enjoyed his character, and he was in it enough. I think less was more was the right approach with Lando.
But Mike, it's not, apologize, it's not Michael B. Jordan. It's actually Donald Glover.
Oh, I get those. I'm sorry. I just saw Black Panther last week.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, I'm not even going to go down that road. But yeah, it's Donald Glover, who has been in quite a few things, including Atlanta from FX.
Oh my gosh. Is my face red?
Well, yes. Well, so Donald Glover, who plays Lando. See, so why why is he cheating? Or why does he need to cheat? You know?
Because it can, I guess.
I guess, but why? I don't know. I was a little surprised that they could have. Well, I guess given how the performance of the movie has been, I guess we couldn't wait for a second movie for Han and Chewie to get the Millennium Falcon. I guess that really couldn't happen. Yeah, I don't. Like I said, there's just little things where it was like I felt like Lando was really, really a little metrosexual for my taste, and I don't know. Like I said, I thought he was a little bit tougher, and I thought he would be more. He's a little bit more of a guy that, you know, he doesn't fight, but if he's in a fight, he'll fight, if you know what I mean. And I was a little surprised we didn't get that. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Got a question for you.
Yep.
That last section when for the second card game where it's Solo and Lando, where do you think that was? The second one, not the first one.
Yeah, at the end, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have this feeling that's where what's her name from Force Awakens is. I feel like that was the same location.
What, Jakku?
No, not Jakku. The hideaway place. That woman.
Maz Kanata?
Yeah, I felt like that's where that was happening, but they didn't really make it clear. But I thought maybe that's where the tie-in is, because it's like, how does she know Han Solo and Chewbacca? I thought maybe that's where that would tie in, but I guess not. But yeah,
that'd have been a nice tie-in. And speaking of tie-ins, that hologram at the end, that was the big gasp moment in the theater for me.
Right. Well, and they've been spending so they've been spending the entire movie where the Crimson Dawn, which is the criminal empire, you know, they made it clear that the guy who was playing the big bad was not the real big bad. And, you know, honestly, I think there were...
Yeah, that guy, what was it? The guy who was Vision.
I think it is... I can't remember... Oh, Paul, what's his name? I can't remember his name.
Paul Bettany. Right,
was playing a guy by the name of Dryden. I thought he did well in this movie, too.
Yeah, he's fine. He plays a pretty good villain.
Right, I thought, you know, I really enjoyed his ship and how that worked. Like I said, I liked Woody Harrelson. I liked a lot of the different characters. I think I would like to have seen more of Woody Harrelson's crew sticking around a little bit more than what we got. I really liked the train heist. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool with the Marauders and then the Stormtroopers with the magnet boots. Yeah, that was cool.
Right, and then, you know, the twist on the pirate Marauders was cool.
Yes. Where,
you know, they're really kind of the good guys, and really the people we've been seeing are the bad guys, which really in reality that's the truth. You know, you're talking about criminal organizations and crime syndicates. Yeah, those are the bad guys. Those are bad dudes. But yeah, I did not expect to see Darth Maul. That is not the face I expected to see there.
Yeah, most people are unaware, at least all the, what you call the casual viewers, thought, hey, isn't that guy that Obi-Wan cut in half?
I did too.
Most people are unaware of the fact that, yeah, he got robot legs.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. That's where, and I wonder if that's part of it, which is, to me, it's like, okay, how is he alive? Okay, let's Google it and find out what the heck's going on. And maybe they think people will go check out all that stuff. Or is it just really more fan service to the people who are watching the cartoons and the games and all that stuff?
Yeah.
You know, where it's here's your nugget for you, but the rest of you guys will all kind of have this, what the hell, the last time we saw this guy, he's in two pieces, how is he here?
Did they say exactly how many years before Episode 4 Solo takes place?
They did not make it 100% clear. They did not make it 100% clear, but we know that Solo is 10 years older, is about probably 10 years older than Skywalker and Leia, than Luke and Leia. So there is an age difference there. I think it's about 10 years.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense that there's a 10-year gap. The interesting part to me is, apparently when I was reading up on what happened and how we get to Darth Maul, apparently in the cartoons, Darth Maul has already met his doom at the hands of Obi-Wan Kenobi, closer to the end of the timeline of the Disney timeline. Right. So, really, I'm kind of like sitting there going, well, okay, this is interesting. You've got, does he live on to where we can use him for other things down the road as a big bad, and in an entirely new, different way? And there's a part of me where I'm like, well, only for so long. Apparently, only for about, another 10 years, or it seems like 10 years, and then nope, he's gone. I don't know what to think on that. It's too bad. But I like the idea of at least he was somebody different and unique.
I agree. Yeah, he was. It was a great twist.
Yeah, I don't know who else they could have. I mean, really, in reality, at that point, there were only so many choices. I don't think you could go with Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
The obvious. Really the obvious choices was either going to be the Emperor or Darth Vader. It certainly wasn't going to be Count Dooku.
I thought maybe just because I follow more attention to the toys, but the current wave of Star Wars Black Series and the 6-inch figures, it had the young Solo, the Chewbacca, and the young Lando, and then the new snowtrooper kind of guy. But there was also a General Tarkin. But it had the toy seemed to have a darker colored hair than Peter Cushing's portrayal in Episode 4. So I thought we might have seen a younger Tarkin, in the background or something.
That'd have been interesting. Or, what?
That's what I was waiting to see, but it didn't happen.
Well, the problem is that when you stop and think about it, they couldn't go to obscure characters like Prince Sizor from the Black Sun, which is a criminal organization and was a very, very popular best-selling book. But again, not during the Disney run, so nobody knows where Black Sun and Sizor Transport Systems or Sizor fits in. I know they've used Thrawn, Grand Admiral Thrawn, in materials from Disney. Thrawn wouldn't have been a Grand Admiral at that time, but he might have been an Admiral, and he might have been an interesting choice too. But I think those choices would have been obscure to the casual viewer. So yeah, Darth Maul was definitely the last name that I had suspected to see. So I was kind of a little surprised.
So what do you give Star Wars out of 10? Solo.
Solo out of 10? I'll call it 8.
Okay, yeah, about me, I'd say 7.5. Just a couple things were super dumb about it, how he got his last name.
Yeah, that was interesting.
That was Imperial Clerk number 328 gave one of the most iconic science fiction characters his last name. I
gotta say, I liked, and I can't remember the character's name right now, the female character, the female lead character. I really liked her. I felt like it was an interesting arc. It was an interesting arc for her. I liked how really she was her own animal and her own entity, and really in reality, she, with where things were, really it seemed as though she was really more of a tough guy, big bad than Han Solo was. And to me, that's the crazy part.
Yeah. I love the actor who played Solo. Again, he had a great performance. I love the naivete and the beginning of what becomes of his cynicism for the world and less idealistic.
Yeah.
He's still off to go and do the good thing, but he's also looking out for himself. And now, what Woody Harrelson teaches him at the end, the one last lesson for you, is you shoot first. Love that scene.
Well, the other thing is too, and I kind of I want to go back to it, which is the Corellia scenes at the beginning were really surprising. That's not what I expected Corellia to look like. That's not what I expected it to be like. And so I was kind of a little surprised. I was, basically they make it seem like Corellia is a place where you don't want to go. And once you leave, you don't ever want to come back. And anything I've seen in an extended universe books and from decades of what people think about that, because that's where Han Solo's from. And so, that's always been more romanticized, and it's always been kind of sexy to certain people. But really, in reality, I wouldn't even call it blue collar. It was basically beneath blue collar.
Yeah, it was almost like Tatooine in a sense, where there was just like indentured servitude and life of like how Han said his dad used to work on these YT 1300 traders for a living.
Well,
you live your life there just in the drudgery of just existing.
It's like if you took Pittsburgh and Gotham and you mixed it in with some Middle Earth in terms of feudalism.
Space Pittsburgh.
And really, in reality, you added in, a Star Wars feel to it, and essentially that was it. I do want to kind of talk a little bit about it. I think the thing that disappoints me the most is I'm getting the impression, as much as that we may not get another Solo movie.
Yeah, you're looking at these headlines, how Solo is bleeding money. And I was like, oh, man. Well, that's unfortunate.
Here's the thing that bothers me about this, and in fairness, when I say we are, I mean, as a society, we're kind of guilty about this too, which is, it underperformed. There's a million articles all week about how it underperformed and it didn't do what it needed to, and boy, oh boy, and what's wrong with Solo, and why didn't it this, and why didn't it that, and then this week the numbers weren't much better. Well, if everything about the movie is what it didn't do and why didn't do it, and what didn't work, what's the perception of people about going to see the movie?
The fact that the movie's made $250 million and they're calling it a failure.
Yeah, but Mike, that's it's funny. How there's all this superhero backlash about, like, how Jodie Foster's been out there and James Cameron's been out there, and they're talking, and even a little bit ironically at times Steven Spielberg, although ironically now Steven Spielberg's going to do the Black Hawk movie. So go figure.
Maybe Spielberg's just a little sour grapes because the Ready Player One didn't live up to his expectations.
No, I thought it did really, really well. I really liked Ready Player One. I highly recommend.
I'm looking forward to seeing it now that it's out on. I think it's out on digital.
Is it?
It should be soon.
I gotta be honest. If anything, it's funny. If there was any movie so far this year where I wish I had gone back to take a look at it again, it was Ready Player One, and I would have liked to have seen that in 3D just because of what it was. But yeah, I look forward to honestly, that's the one movie I look forward to watching again.
Okay, it's out on DVD July 24th.
Is it? That was a good movie. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I want to watch it just for all the Easter eggs.
Oh yeah, there's a ton. Speaking of which, I think that's the to me with Solo. I think, look, it's a good movie. It's a solid movie. And unfortunately, it's getting hurt by a very bad choice in strategy. And that very bad choice in strategy was they decided that they wanted to move off of the holidays, and they wanted to try to put another Star Wars movie that would be more of a summer blockbuster. And that's fine, except, unfortunately, and I don't remember the details as to why, but Deadpool moved up to the week before it. And I think, really in reality, those two movies hurt each other. And when I say hurt each other, let me explain why. And I know there's some people who bring in about Avengers Infinity War, and that killed Solo too. Avengers Infinity War was the last week, practically almost the end of April.
Yeah, it was originally slated for the beginning of May, but they moved it forward.
Well, and I think they wisely moved it forward because I think they saw it. I think they did see it. I think they saw what could possibly happen, which is, okay, if we move it up a week, we got maybe 2-3 weeks that we can have the box office to ourselves, and then Deadpool's going to show up. Well, okay, you had Deadpool show up, and it had a good box office week in week 1, but it lost quite a bit of numbers in week 2. So really, in reality, Solo and Deadpool hurt each other, and that's unfortunate. I mean, that's the part that's the real problem here, is you put these two movies back to back, and I think the thought process was, oh, well, they'll both do fine. Well, no, they didn't both do fine. Deadpool 2 is going to come out a little ahead of where Solo is, because really, in reality, Deadpool 2 was first.
Deadpool 1 came out in February, and nothing was up against it. Which is partly why it became the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time.
Well, again, we've had this conversation before. If I'm putting out a movie that I'm not 100% sure of, but I think it's a hit, I'm putting it out in February because really, in reality, in February there's just not a lot going on, and it's a great time to put something out there. Again, Jim Carrey's career was pretty much launched in February. With a whole bunch of comedies that there was just nothing else out there, and so he killed the box office for a long time, and that's how he got to be getting paid $20 million a movie. Look at Black Panther. Black Panther was in February, and it pretty much ate everything in sight because once it got momentum, there wasn't really much going on. I mean, Wrinkle in Time was there. There were a few other movies that people thought might do it, but really, until Ready Player One came out, which was at the end of the month of March, it pretty much trounced everything for a month.
Yeah.
But yeah, the two of these movies being back to back, I think hurt each other. And like I said, to me, I think here's the difference. I think the difference is if Solo ends up going first instead of Deadpool, we're having these conversations about Deadpool. We're not having these conversations about Solo. We're having these conversations about why is Deadpool 2 underperforming? I really believe that.
Okay, so you ranked Solo after Force Awakens.
Yep.
Then I presume Rogue One and then The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
I guess. I'm not sure.
So you just take your list and then just put Rogue One at the top. That was the best one for me. That was my favorite out of the Disney Star Wars for me.
Yeah. To me, I think Force Awakens is one, and you're going to laugh, because Force Awakens is really the real Harrison Ford Han Solo movie we never got.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really stop and watch the movie, most of the movie's set around that last Han Solo and Chewie adventure. It really,
you're not wrong.
Nah,
Solo, we both agree that we liked it. So,
yeah,
it was good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It was
as long as we're on movies real fast, so now we get to... I will tell you, I'm probably going to end up seeing Ocean's 8 with my mom, because, that'll be curious, by the way. I'm curious to see how that goes, because that's aimed more for women, but I think there's enough box office power And given how much testosterone there has been in a lot of these movies, I think this could be the first real women's blockbuster of the year.
Okay.
When's
that come out?
It's coming out this Friday.
Oh, okay. I think mine, if I can find a theater that'll carry it, but I want to see the Mr. Rogers story.
Yes. I think I'm going to wait until that comes out on demand to watch that. I don't know that that's something I'm going to wait for the theater. And then in a week's time is Incredibles 2. I'm just not sure if I'm going to see that in the theater or not.
I already got my tickets, so I'm ready to go.
Okay. And then the week after that is Jurassic World.
Pass.
Yeah, I think
for me.
I think again that's one of those where I'm going to wait for for on demand or someplace to rent it. And then there's movies here that I'm not catching what it is for June. And then really reality Ant-Man and Wasp comes out on the 6th.
Yep, that's it. So yeah, for me, I'm done with Jurassic Park stuff. It's like you've seen one Jurassic Park movie, you've seen them all.
I do like Christopher Pratt. I found Jurassic World to be fun to watch.
It was fine.
But I'm glad I didn't pay big money to go see it. But again, people really love that franchise and they like it, so we'll see how it goes. My understanding is they're already working on sequels. They're already working on sequels,
yeah.
Which is crazy. But I don't know if you saw in Solo. Did you see the trailer for that rock movie called Skyscraper?
I did not.
Okay. Our theater had a trailer for this movie. Interesting. I don't know that I'm going to see it, but that's out on the 13th. I think I'm just looking ahead. July 20th is Mamma Mia, so I expect, again, that's when this is aimed more at women. Mission Impossible is the 27th. I'll be honest, I'm going to ask you, have you seen... What was the last Mission Impossible movie you've seen?
I've not seen any of them in their entirety. I've seen bits and pieces on cable. And this movie, I've seen the trailer so many times, I'm so sick of it. I was like, I want to see it on cable just to see why Henry Cavill couldn't shave that friggin' mustache.
Oh, I don't know about that. Here's what's interesting to me. Can you recall the last Tom Cruise movie you saw? Yeah.
Born on the 4th of July.
For me,
good for it was on A Few Good Men.
Okay. For me,
you want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's a couple...
So that's what, 92, 93?
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. It's like, I mean, Interview with a Vampire is when? The 90s, right?
Yeah, I did say that one too. Yeah, that was 90s, so...
It's the 90s.
Yep.
The Mission Impossible movies have been since, what? The 90s, right? I mean, sure. I'm trying to think of anything in the 2000s of Tom Cruise. Well, wait, when was Minority Report? When was Minority Report? Hold on.
That was late 90s.
Is that really? Is that still... So. Hold on, let's pull up Tom Cruise, shall we? I'm just curious.
All right, you pull up the Tom Cruise. I will remind our listeners that, hey, you can contact us through email.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have an electronic letter. I don't have a phone, but you could have used an electronic letter. It's called an email.
Mm-hmm.
It's sotrtpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at sotrtpodcast, and we are also on Facebook. We appreciate you listening, in however format. And we're working on it should be coming hopefully sometime by the end of June. We'll be on a podcast hosting site. I'm working on that now.
Yes.
It's in the works. The gears are turning. Somewhere, who knows where, but they're turning. We're working on it. We appreciate your listening nonetheless.
Okay, looking at Tom Cruise and movies since 2000. Okay, he was in the Austin Powers movie.
I have which one?
Austin Powers in Goldmember.
Never saw that one. I just saw the first one.
Okay.
I did see the second one, The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Okay. He was in... Now, I will say, I did see this one. In 2004, He was. I'm just going with the ones that I've seen, that I know I've seen, that I had forgotten about. Collateral, which was with Jamie Foxx. That was a good movie. That actually was a pretty good movie. He was in Tropic Thunder.
Oh, yeah.
Which was 2008.
Yeah, I remember. I like Robert Duvall's character in that.
Mm-hmm. Here's one that I'm positive you didn't see, but I did, and I forgot who was even in it. He was in the musical Rock of Ages as Stacey Jacks in 2012.
All right.
So it was Tom Cruise doing technically show tunes as Stacey Jacks. I think I might have seen the Jack Reacher movie. I can't remember. Maybe I saw the second Jack Reacher movie. So I take it back. I have seen some Tom Cruise movies in the 2000s. Of course, the big news, I don't know if you caught this, they have now started filming Top Gun, Maverick.
Yeah, okay.
For 2019 release.
We've come a long way from 1986.
Yeah. Well, this has been a long time coming. I'm surprised. I'm surprised they at some point they didn't either reboot this or do this sooner.
Yeah, I'm surprised it took this long for a sequel to Top Gun.
Yeah, well, or a reboot entirely, which I was kind of surprised we didn't get. But yeah, apparently that is, and again, the only reason I'm bringing up Tom Cruise is, like I said, Mission Impossible is July 27th. You know what else is on July 27th, Mike?
No.
That is the day we get Teen Titans Go at the movies.
Crickets.
So here's the interesting part. You're going to get a kick out of this. This story came out today. Apparently, there's a story from comicbook.com that if Teen Titans Go has a strong show, does well at the box office. Now, I don't know what that means in terms of the numbers, but there's a possibility that it would spark a revival of
the original Teen Titans series?
Of the original Teen Titans cartoon series.
Whatever it takes.
So that's out there. And that they could possibly finally do a possible final season, like a season 6. But,
okay.
But yeah, and obviously you're listening to Squares of the Round Table podcast. I'm Jeff Stein. With me is Mike Boyle. Ivan Rivera not here this week. Best wishes to Julie, who hopefully we can see if she does better.
I see what you did there.
I see what I did, yes. What else do we want to reach out to?
Speaking of movies, the Wreck-It Ralph 2 trailer dropped today.
Yeah.
Now the movies had me interested. The first trailer was like, but this one is like, okay, now this could be really fun. I was going to go see it anyway, but because I love the first one a whole lot.
Yeah.
Milk my duds, it's Wreck-It Ralph.
First one is vastly underrated in my opinion. It's a phenomenal movie, and I'm looking forward to it. I like the first trailer, but then again, I was a big fan. That whole the kitty gets the milkshake, the bunny gets the pancake thing. I couldn't stop laughing. I couldn't stop laughing for like 20 minutes watching that over and over again.
Yeah, so that has made something like, oh great, another movie I need to see this year. I was like, I don't remember having to go to the theater this many times just because of movies that have like really hit my interest.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so I got that.
Right. Well, and it's crazy because Chicago, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on with that kind of stuff. Like you mentioned to me, you were asking me the other day, or you were asking me earlier, hey, when is Celebration? I guess Celebration's coming to Chicago. Is that my understanding?
Yes. Next year, Star Wars Celebration 2019 will be April 11th through the 15th at McCormick Place here in our lovely city of Chicago, Illinois.
Well, and I think that's, I know they've had it in Indianapolis, but now, but I know that the people who are running it now is a company called Reed Pop. And what's interesting is this is the 11th and through the 15th. I'm just curious about something because they also run the C2E2, the Chicago Comic Entertainment Expo show, and that show is going to be March 29th through the 31st.
Yeah, so give you 2 weeks before that.
So it looks like there'll be a couple weeks in between, but boy, that's, and I know that sometimes crossover is not as big as it used to be between the two types of conventions, but it seems like there's going to be quite a good amount available for local. I realize that Star Wars Celebration will get people from all over the world.
Yes, Star Wars Celebration is huge. It's enormous. The Star Wars people, they have, a lot of the Star Wars fans, they got more money than they do sense. And they are nuts. I remember a story when a friend of mine was running an online toy store, and he had a graphic arts designer who happened to make it to New York Comic Con, and he went to, was it New York Comic Con, I think 2005, and they had an exclusive Anakin Skywalker that became Darth Vader. It's like a kind of spinning kind of packaging, like you spin the package halfway around, and it's the kind of good Anakin to the evil Anakin or whatever. And he got a few of those, and he sold them for crazy money because Star Wars people are crazy and with their collectibles.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But it'd be fun to go. I think, I said, if I had to snap my fingers like Thanos and say, which do I keep, Star Wars or Star Trek? I'd have to say Star Trek myself personally, but I'd still like Star Wars a lot, and it'd be interesting just to go maybe like one day and just to see, just immerse yourself in Star Wars for a day. Mm-hmm. It'd be fun to go. I might go just for one day in next year, just to experience it, because they have the Star Wars celebrations in different places all over the world. So to have it like here in my doorstep, sure, I think I might check it out.
Right. I know for a while they had it in Indianapolis, and because that was being handled by the people who do Gen Con, the Gen Con Game Fair. At one point, they were handling that for Lucas, where they were creating Celebration. Now it's a company called Reed Pop, and so that's changed, obviously, with how they do things and where they do things. But yeah, I think, I don't know. I mean, I've never been one for I want to walk around a whole bunch of times, or I want to sit in the overly crowded rooms at these panels, like wall to wall, where it's like, where I don't have breathing room. Maybe part of it is because I hate to say it, I like playing the games, and I like playing the role playing games and stuff like that, and I'm sure they have some of that, but I don't. To me, that would be where the fun would be, is to be able to do something like that. To get an autograph from Mark Hamill, that'd be great. But I know how long the line is, too.
I saw Mark Hamill in person at a Gen Con once, way back when it was in Milwaukee. He was signing a Wing Commander trading card. And I saw him in person, and I was maybe 30 feet away from him. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, he is a little short for a stormtrooper. But it was pretty cool. I saw Mark Hamill in person. I was like, that was cool. But no, I wouldn't do any autographs. I'm confident because we both know that the McCormick Place is a huge venue. So at least you don't have to worry about being assholes and elbows the whole way through,
Well, but even in the rooms when they have the panels, as much as you sit there and they say that, they stack those chairs one on top of the other like that. And if depending on what the weather's like in April, if it's one of those times where we have 60 or 70 degree days, that could be ugly.
Well, mid-April in Chicago is a crapshoot, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Weather-wise.
That's true. As long as we're talking about science fiction and not of this world, that seems like a good transition to what has pleasantly been a surprise in what I have watched this year on TV. Which, you're doing that pretty well. which I don't know. You know, Mike and I have been talking, and we've mentioned and teased a few times we were going to talk about Krypton. Mike, was this a series that you were looking forward to seeing, or was this something where it was just kind of like, oh, okay, I'll just check it out?
At first, I was like, shrug. But then my friend Bill's like, hey, let's check this out. This could be interesting. I'm like, okay. So we watched the pilot. It was pretty cool. It takes place like in the same kind of timeline as Man of Steel. The same kind of technology kind of exists. Maybe not as fancy schmancy because TV budget, you know how that goes. And that really does show in some of these episodes. And binging it doesn't help either because there's a lot of walking around in dark caverns when you're passing the same window over and over. I got to feel like this was an episode of the Flintstones where they're walking past the same lamp and the same picture on the wall as they're heading to the door.
So,
but anyway, let me finish my thought here by saying that I enjoyed it. There's a lot more story than I expected. Great character moments with it, and yeah, some super cool twists as well.
Right. And the reason I wanted to stop you just in case was again, if you've not seen Krypton, we are going to talk about story elements. You may want to skip this section, so I'll give you a second. Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, if you think that that's dark, and it's hard to see.
Yeah, I know. We talked about this last week with Iron Fist.
I'm telling you right now, the Marvel Netflix shows, this show makes the Marvel Netflix shows look good. And that you can see, that at least I can see this. I mean, I'm telling you, on the Marvel Netflix show, you think this is bad? Try watching one of those shows. Like, try watching Daredevil and not sit there and be like, okay, how do I turn the brightness on my TV to like 1 million? Okay, because I can't see a thing. So to me, this was welcome in the fact that I didn't have to do that. Yeah, there are sections where it was dark, but I've gotten used to these companies where it's like, hey, you know what? We're gonna hide things in the darkness because we couldn't afford it. I gotta be honest, I wasn't. This was not a show that I was really interested in when they first announced it.
Me neither.
What got me to come around on it is the take that they've taken and the fact that they sent Adam Strange back from the future because apparently something is wrong with the timeline, and they've sent him back to the time of Superman's grandfather, better known as Seg-El. And Seg-El, boy.
He reminds me of that movie. You ever see that movie, The Thing You Do?
Mm-hmm.
Where Jimmy, the lead singer, the artist that he was. It just reminds me of the character Jimmy. I quit. It just looked like that dude. That kind of threw me off a little bit sometimes when you look at him. He looks like Jimmy from That Thing You Do.
Yeah, I think he actually kind of has a little bit of that look that looks very similar to Superman.
Yeah, it was fine. I'm just
sure.
just an aside because of his appearance, but I like the character performances. I like the performances in this show. And watching binge watching 4 or 5 episodes at a time, and it kind of works to its detriment a little bit. But that's just me. And we talked about binging in previous episodes about how the pros and cons of binge watching TV shows. But I still had an enjoyable experience. I think of course the big baddie being Brainiac in this series, this season.
Well, is Brainiac the big bad?
Yeah.
You think so?
I think so. Well, he's the one that obviously the focus of, because the trailers for the episodes, they don't reveal a certain character who we thought was, what's her name? The Zod, who is the love interest for Seg, who is the mom. So it's like, who happens to be, more spoiler, look out, General Zod.
Yeah. Well, we did the spoiler thing, so that's why I was kind of more than happy to sit there and say, okay, we could definitely talk a little bit more about this, but.
And the other spoiler being that I don't know whether the whole arc with these people trying to protect this quote unquote weapon that I guess both the houses of El and Zod have created, and then just locked it away. I mean, they have rocket technology. They could just. Why they think they need to save this creature that we know of.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can see what it is. I mean, that's, we're talking about the fact that here in season one, in season one, we get to see more than one Superman villain, and as much as it's about Brainiac, the truth is, as time goes on, and it's something that for some strange reason didn't click in my brain, is all of this is based, the entire show is based in the city of Kandor. And anybody who's never read a Superman comic or isn't aware, from a historical and from a lore standpoint and from the comic books, Superman, at one point when he fights Brainiac, he finds the bottled city of Kandor in Brainiac's ship. And he takes it and he puts it in, and he ends up in the bottled city of Kandor is alive and well, and it's at the Fortress of Solitude with Superman. Now, they're not frozen like in time like they are in as they show on Krypton.
Yeah, that was kind of like, okay, that was an interesting departure, but...
Right, but the point being is, it took me a second to remember, oh, wait a minute, no, Brainiac does have to take Kandor, because if Brainiac doesn't take Kandor, then it changes the timeline. So in reality, we have this entire thing where it's Brainiac's the big bad, and to me, it's like, wait a minute, no, Brainiac's not the big bad. The big bad is Zod. Because as much as he sits there and he talks about, oh, I want to save Krypton. Yeah, you want to save Krypton, and you figured out a good way to do it, which is to tell everybody what happens if they let Brainiac do what he's going to do, which is the planet's going to blow up and bad things happen and everyone's pretty much going to die.
Yeah. But the biggest change for me when they did this in Man of Steel 2 was that the reason why Krypton explodes is because we cored out, they took the resources out of the planet, and so the planet implodes pretty much. And removing Kandor City from the surface of Krypton accelerates the destruction of the planet instead of the red sun causing the destruction of Krypton. And I did like, one other thing I just want to point out is that I liked Adam Strange's angle. And eventually I knew it was going to drop that Seg is going to be like, you knew Krypton was going to blow up and you didn't tell me? Dude. But it's like, no, we have to, because this is my timeline, which in his perspective is the right one. And unless Kandor is taken and unless Krypton explodes, there won't be a Superman. So Adam has to help Seg on a right path, but in the same time, he can't say these certain things, and it went out, and now the bartender guy's like, he doesn't want to see you anymore, and now, but he still did protect Seg from the kid exploding, like the bomb or whatever that she became, that Brainiac sent, but yeah, I liked Adam's angle in this, and there was one whole episode that kind of, like, we used it through flashbacks when he got the Zeta Beam device. It was a cool angle for one episode, and it helped because there's certain times where this show's got movie budget, but there's parts of this where it's like they don't, and it's the contrast is pretty stark.
Well, it's interesting for me with Adam Strange because I'm sure there are some Adam Strange fans who may not be so thrilled with how Adam Strange has been portrayed, which is, Adam Strange is kind of like supposed to be the Buck Rogers of the DC universe, or the Flash Gordon of the DC universe. and here Adam Strange is really none of that. And if anything, here Adam Strange has stolen Zeta Beam technology to do what he needed to do, and seems to be a wannabe or a bungling hero, and I'm a little surprised about it. It makes me almost think that maybe he's not who he claims he is, but based on what they're doing, yeah, that's exactly who it is. I thought it was interesting at the end that, at one point it seems as though there's a city from Earth that in the future, at some point, because of the new timeline, has been pulled up by Brainiac.
Yeah, and Adam's stuck in it now.
Right, I think it's supposed to be Detroit, and if you notice closely, it's either Detroit or Metropolis, one of the two. I'm going to guess it's Metropolis because there is a statue of Zod inside the bottle. So at some point, and this is where I guess we go really spoiler, which is, by the end of the first season, Zod is
they stop Brainiac from taking Kandor.
Right.
Firstly.
Right, but in the end, Zod is basically taken over Krypton.
Yeah, and that was what Grandma figured out.
Right.
Grandma Zod, she's all like, he's not here to stop Brainiac, he's here to rule.
Yeah.
Because that's the Zod way.
Well, and it's crazy because really in reality, what I really, really thought was impressive was, it seemed pretty obvious how season 1 has to end, and they took that and just threw it on its ear, which is you throw Seg-El into the Phantom Zone where he's stuck, and there's no way in theory, there's no way for him to come back. Obviously, he's going to be able to. Adam Strange is stuck essentially in a bottled city of Metropolis, we think, in the future, and General Zod has essentially taken over Krypton, and the theory is that he has started to create the Krypton Galactic Empire. And oh, by the way, P.S., roaming, as he's in the process of doing this, roaming around this underneath Kandor, or about to be roaming underneath Kandor, is Doomsday.
Yes.
And that, to me, I mean, there's at least three or four really solid cliffhanger plot lines to move forward with. The biggest thing, which is, and I'll be honest with you, Superman tried to stop Doomsday, and he had the powers of a yellow sun. How in the heck?
These normal people
are the Kryptonian people going to stop Doomsday? Yeah. And they don't have that power. So right. I don't know. I'm intrigued, and unfortunately, we don't get to find out until 2019.
Yeah, I like the whole between the House of, what was it, Zeg? What was it? Was it the white-haired chick and the politician dude?
Vex. The House of Vex.
Vex, yes, thank you. I like that. You're waiting for that dude to die. He's a great heel, to use a wrestling term.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, there's some.
I don't think we've seen the last of him, though.
Well, and the interesting part is, we've talked about a lot of the superhero elements here. There's a lot of intrigue involved about the histories of the House of El, the House of Zod, and the other thing that comes out of this, and I don't know if it's true or not, but apparently, at least in this series, Lyta Zod, who is essentially a contemporary of Seg-El, has a relationship with him, and at some point, apparently from the fact that they're romantically or sexually involved, Zod is born from that union, but we're not aware of that until way late in the season, that is indeed the case.
Yeah. And I don't know if I don't think we've met Jor-El's mom yet. I don't think it's either any of the female leads we've seen yet.
Well, I think it might be.
I don't think it's that white-haired chick. I don't think it's her.
You mean Nessa X? Yeah, I think that Vex, or I can't remember off the top of my head. I do think it might be her. I could be wrong. I don't know.
But But don't forget, he's got there's two on the way because we get Jor-El. Doesn't Jor-El have a brother, or is that Jor-El's wife has a brother?
I can't remember
where we get Supergirl from.
But that's an interesting thought process too, which is we haven't been introduced to the other side of the L family yet, which is where Supergirl comes from.
You're more versed in the DC universe than I am, but are there any more cities? They talk about the 8 city-states, and they talk about Argo City, and they talk about Kryptonopolis, which is kind of a lame name, but I'm not sure if that's canon or not. But are there any other named city-states on Krypton?
It's funny you say that. One of the Krypton stories have never been something I've been interested in when they do Superman stories. So it's not something I'm as well versed on. Yeah. And it's funny, I have friends of mine who are like, "Oh, those are the best Superman stories," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not. I've never been thrilled with those stories. It's never been something I felt strongly about." So unfortunately, honestly, that's one of the reasons why I wasn't sure if I wanted to watch the show. Between that and the fact that I don't know if you're aware of this, but David Goyer is the head writer for the show.
Yeah.
Now, David Goyer has written comics for years, and he wrote Dark Knight. He wrote some of the Batman movies, the more recent ones. But he also wrote Batman v Superman. And so there was a part of me where I'm like, I don't know.
Was he involved in Man of Steel?
Like Superman or not? Which is beginning, but based on this, it's beginning to become very, very clear that many of the problems regarding Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, and in terms of what Superman's supposed to look like or be like, honestly, I put them all on Zack Snyder at the moment.
Did Goyer have a hand in Man of Steel?
I think he... Hold on.
Okay.
I'll take a look.
You have a look. And speaking of DC Superman, holy crap, this whole thing about Allison Mack is just getting weirder and weirder, and this whole sex cult thing. Wow.
Yes.
This is my first Superman series I've watched. I've only seen some of the full disclosure, I've not seen all of the Max Fleischer Superman shorts. And I've not seen Lois and Clark. I've not seen Smallville. I've only seen bits and pieces through series along the way. And my sister is a big fan of Smallville, and I kind of got some of the graphic novels of the continuation of that series, which would have been like season 8 of Smallville. But this whole thing about Allison Mack is just really creepy, man. It's like, wow. I don't think I could go back and watch those episodes now because of all this crazy stuff, the news that's come out of this sex cult thing that Allison Mack was involved in. Yeah, so crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, no, I haven't kept up on that one. But yeah, it does seem crazy. Yes, Goyer is indeed involved in the writing of Man of Steel.
Yeah. I liked Man of Steel.
Well, I liked Man of Steel until the one part that I don't like.
Because he gonna break your one rule.
Yeah, Superman doesn't kill. Superman doesn't kill. What are you doing? But yeah, I found Krypton to be really a lot of fun. So
yeah, I liked it. I'll definitely watch it now. It won't be till next year, but yeah, I'll definitely pick it up. Sometimes I think they're just dropping the S-bomb just for the sake of trying to be cool in quotation marks. But it's all right. It's good.
But yeah, like I said, overall, so there's that. It's funny.
Oh, I got to tell you this joke. Okay, my friend Bill and I are watching it, and sometimes we make a little commentary during the episode. Mm-hmm. So Brainiac has revealed himself as the voice of Rao, and a bunch of the Sagittarii are in the room, and so Brainiac puts the thing in their head and make them like these drones or whatever, including ZM. She's kind of who's also kind of the love interest. There's kind of this love triangle between Seg-El and ZM, who is the Sagittari soldier guy. and say, "Hey, Sagittari Soldier Guy, that could be another sci-fi DC series."
Yeah.
But there's this one scene where obviously where he's wearing the hoodie, so he's not in hiding. He's a Brainiac mole or whatever, an agent. So it's revealed, oh no, he's the bad guy. So she shoots him and blows his arm off. And it was pretty cool special effect, actually. And then they go back to the Fortress of Solitude and says, yeah, if you get that dude, maybe we could hack into Brainiac's neural network or whatever and try and find out what he's up to or whatever. So they go back and they find, they go back to where they left Zed's body. And all of a sudden, here he is. He's standing up. So I said, we're watching this happen, and all of a sudden I just say, hey, it's the Walking Zed.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, hey, everybody's all up in arms about that.
Give the guy a hand, won't you? Because he was missing an arm. See, that's the joke.
Yeah. But everybody's all up in arms. What's his name's leaving the show?
He had an ambient-fueled Twitter rant, or what?
No, Andrew Lincoln is leaving the show. And the one who plays Maggie is leaving the show.
Oh.
So, two of the more popular characters.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, yeah.
So I guess that sparked some real...
I think the shows, they've gone, and the fact that I don't follow The Walking Dead. I have a couple of friends who are like super, super duper into it. And so all my news comes vicariously through them, or the news headlines I'll see like in my nerd news or whatever. So I know that the show has diverged far enough from the original comic.
Uh-huh.
And the show has gone on for what? How many? 7, 8 seasons now?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the end of 8.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe it's time. I don't know. It's time for it. But the show's going to take a different direction. Of course, an even more new direction because these major characters they want to be done. So they want to go off to do other things, or their contract is up and they don't want to pay them no more, or whatever reason. So okay, so let the Walking Dead do whatever they do over there. It's not my thing.
Yeah, here's the thing. I watched the first few seasons, and it's funny. I get the impression that it jumps around a little bit more. That there isn't exactly always a full-on storyline like this is, where it's and it makes a little bit more sense to basically not have a linear direction where it's clear where it's going forward in the comics, because at the end of the day, it's okay, we're in an apocalypse and that's that. In television, at some point when I'm watching it, at some point I felt like, okay, so really in reality there's just no hope. And there apparently is no hope in this show. In that, how does this show end? Well, it seems like this show ends when everybody dies.
Yeah, it's just how it seems like. There's no...
Right.
There's no immunity. There's no chance of enough of an infrastructure of a civilization to find a cure.
Right. Well, and then in the first season, they get to the CDC, and they get there, and they're like, yeah, there is no cure. There's no way we can fix this. But really, in reality, nobody really ever seems to try again. I mean, there's attempts at society, but it seems like it doesn't really work. I mean... And I get that this is kind of what maybe things might look like if the world went to zombie apocalypse, but there's a part of me where I'm kind of sitting here and I'm like, okay, but it's television, and at some point, television is such where, I guess you could end where everybody dies and the entire world turns into zombies and that's it, but that's not very satisfying. Unless you're a fan of zombies and you're just like, yay! I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe just because we're that narrative is kind of drilled into us where we want the happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
Where we want to see the resolution to these stories, and maybe that's just how it ends, just like how certain other shows have ended, where sometimes there is no, and they lived happily ever after.
Yeah, but at least there's some feeling.
Yeah. Like I said, that's The Walking Dead. They can, let them do their groovy thing. They're still making money, I presume.
Yep.
That's why they're still doing it.
Yep.
So,
hey, at the same time, I'm thrilled for Robert Kirkman, who is the creator of The Walking Dead, because this opens the door for other comic book creators who have been able to create their own pieces outside of the worlds of DC Comics and Marvel Comics, and has allowed for there to be possibilities of something other than them out there that can be in the mainstream, and I think that that's a good thing. As a matter of fact, perfect example of that is, I don't know if you caught the announcement, but Todd McFarlane made a big announcement this week that Jamie Foxx is going to play Spawn.
Yeah, well,
I know.
Jamie Foxx is an excellent actor. I loved him in Ray, and he's done some other really good movies, but he's done some turkeys as well. So I don't know. I'm okay with it. But Todd McFarlane, I'd seen a picture. They spoke to him. I watched the second part of season 1 of The Toys That Made Us, and they spoke briefly with Todd McFarlane because he did some of the was it Diamond Select or is it Art Asylum? Some of the newer Star Trek figures.
Okay.
And Todd McFarlane, he's looking old, man.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
So fine. Well, let's do Spawn. Let's make it profit instead of, because I watched Spawn in the theater.
Yeah.
And that CG, that cape is really dated.
Well, all that was that. There's an example of a movie that wasn't ready to be done yet.
Yeah.
I don't think that they really truly had the technology to do that movie.
Yeah, it's like Jurassic Park in 1993 was just at the right time to have that movie. I think the first Jurassic Park holds up well. Same thing I think you could say for the first Transformers movie. So like 2002, 2003, you couldn't have that much CG robot stuff happening. But in 2007, it was right there. The technology was there enough where they would pull it off. I think the same thing. Well, that was like Spawn was a bad example of that. So I agree in that regard.
Yeah, no, if anything, to me, what didn't help was, I don't know if you've ever seen it or not, but at one point HBO did at least 2 seasons of an animated Spawn cartoon.
Yeah, I watched it. It was pretty good.
It was incredible, and so that's the reason why I can see the pick of Jamie Foxx. I just wonder. I can see it. I can see how you could make that work as the man who was before Spawn.
Wasn't it Peter David who did the voice of him? Same guy who was Goliath in Gargoyles. Was the same guy who was
the first? You mean the Spawn cartoon?
Yeah, the Spawn animated series on HBO. Because he's done a ton of voice acting. I think it might have been him, because he has a great voice.
Peter David? I have a hard time believing it. Peter. Well, let's see. Okay,
maybe it has a different name to it. I don't know.
18 episodes. It was 18 episodes back from 97 to 99. So really, there was 3 seasons, 18 episodes. Let's see
So that's what, like 6 episodes per season, 7 episodes per season. Wow.
I guess.
Yeah.
I know why you're thinking Peter David, because the lead guy was a guy by the name of Keith David.
Keith David. I'm thinking Peter David, the Star Trek writer.
Right. Yeah. Well, and the comic book writer Peter David, who is probably one of the best Hulk writers you've ever seen.
Yeah.
I
got my names mixed up today. I can't get names right.
But yeah, it was Peter. It was a guy by the name of Keith David.
Yeah.
And I'm
He's
looking
great,
to see if I recognize any of the other names.
Yeah, he was a great voice. He's also the voice of the general guy in Mass Effect, the mentor kind of role for Commander Shepard. So
but yeah, I definitely feel like there's a part of me where it's like, okay, I do think Al Simmons isn't really even in the original comics. I don't know that Al Simmons is really a 20-something. I feel like Al Simmons is more of a 30-something or a 40-something. So there's a part of me where I'm like, okay, I could see why maybe you go with Jamie Foxx. And
now he's old enough. He's able to give that look, of a man who's seen the world, and he's got some kills under his belt,
Right, but I'll it's funny you bring up the other Spawn show, the other Spawn movie, because really in reality I feel like with Spawn they have one shot to get this right. If this doesn't work or it doesn't jive, there is not going to be another Spawn movie, maybe in our lifetime, because really in reality after the first one, I think, it's taken them a long time to get ready to try to do this again, and I don't know all the details as to why it's taking so long to bring Spawn back to the big screen, but that's been the case, and that's where it's at, and I think it'll be interesting. That character. It's funny. How long has Spawn been around?
Well, since the early 90s, right? Yeah. That's when Spawn entered the mainstream. Remember seeing those? I'm saying like 93, 94 is when it started, like really underground. But then 95 is when Todd McFarlane. I remember getting Action Figure Digest magazine back then. That's when Spawn was really getting into high gear as far as the figures go. So Spawn number 1, right? Okay, this seems about right because all the creators come from Marvel, and they leave Marvel. I shouldn't say creators. All the artists leave from Marvel to create Image, and one of the big first Image books that comes out of it is Spawn. So Spawn number 1 is May of 1992. God, wow, is it really? So how many years of Spawn are we talking about? Yeah. But are they still cranking out original stories for Spawn?
Yeah, I believe they are. Okay, so we're talking. Okay, so last year was the 25th anniversary of Spawn.
Oh my God.
Right. Yeah. The only reason I think it's crazy and the reason I wanted to see that is, we're talking about this year. Superman's like, what is it? Is Superman? Is it Superman who's 80 this year?
Yep.
Okay, so Superman's 80 this year. Okay, and we think, wow, that's incredible. A character like Spawn has already been around for 25 years, which is crazy. When you really stop and think about it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think. Well, I want to check something. I was under the impression. Why do I feel like Bendis spent some time as a writer on Spawn? But I don't see his name listed. Alan Moore wrote Neil Gaiman, Frank Miller, Grant Morrison. Interesting. Robert Kirkman, the guy from The Walking Dead, wrote issue 200. I'm looking to see just in general about. Yeah, I was under the impression there were some people who did other books. Maybe it's because, you know what it is? I think it's because Bendis did Sam and Twitch, which are the two detectives in Spawn. Let's see, is that... Yeah.
Did we talk about...
Bendis did Sam and Twitch. That's what it is.
Speaking of 90s franchises that are coming back, or this was 80s, I think, but I guess they're bringing back Bill and Ted. Did we talk about this?
Really? Yeah, I saw they're coming back with Bill and Ted.
I was just thinking about, like, how many times that other guy, not Keanu, but the other guy, he had a show on MTV for a while. I forget what it was called. but he had it was like a sketch comedy show where it was just mostly him and a couple other people who did some comedy stuff on MTV.
Okay.
And I think he wanted to stay in the spotlight, I guess, but I don't know if there was ever a chance. I don't know if there was no really falling out between him and Keanu, but I guess with all these 80s franchises revivals, they're bringing Bill and Ted back, and I guess it's happening. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I see.
This won't be the same without Rufus, though.
Well, it's
Rest
weird.
in peace, George.
It's weird because it's like, okay, Top Gun, I'm kind of sitting there and I'm like, yeah, I'm good with a Top Gun, a return to Top Gun. That I'm there for. I'm ready to go. You point me in the right direction. Let's see it. I wanna do it. Bill and Ted #3. I'm like,
Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey was not as good as
it was bogus.
It was totally bogus.
Totally bogus, man. And I don't know that I was really looking for.
You think back at Bill and Ted, if they made Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure today, they'd put in so many drug use jokes and just have bongs all over there. But they never partook in any drugs or alcohol. They were just like that. It was just them. They didn't need what they call recreational drugs or booze or beer or whatever. They just hang out and they wanted to make music, man. It's funny. It was kind of wholesome like that when you think about it now. That Bill and Ted were just a couple of cool dudes trying to form Wild Stallions and make awesome music and just trying to be excellent to one another. So, I don't know. It's just a thought popped in my head thinking about Bill and Ted.
Well, it's crazy when you stop and think about it. That really, you're right. They weren't exactly.
But it pissed off all the Doctor Who fans, though.
Because they don't get pissed off about anything at all. I feel like sometimes the Doctor Who fans are more critical than the Star Wars fans, but I could be very, very wrong. Because now I have to admit that I've never, ever watched an episode of Doctor Who.
I watched a lot of it of the reboot. My friend Bill, he's a big Doctor Who fan, so he knows Doctor Who backwards and forwards, just like how I would I know Transformers and Star Trek pretty much. And the time machine's a phone booth. They're ripping off Doctor Who. I'm like, well, it's funny. It's comedy. It's nothing. Doctor Who's got 60 years now, so close to that. But oh well. Yeah, I don't know enough about Doctor Who, but I did watch some of the reboot, with Chris Eccleston, who went on to be Malekith in The Dark World, and he was also Destro in that G.I. Joe movie they tried to make. And then I saw a little bit of the other guy? Oh, the guy who was the next one.
I don't know. By the way,
not Matt Smith, but the one before him. See, I'm bad with names today. Man, I'm usually pretty good with names.
So,
oh well.
It's crazy because I don't know if we talked about this, that Hasbro now has Power Rangers. So, and I know Hasbro's been trying to get a shared universe together where, and in fairness, it could make sense that you could have G.I. Joe and the Transformers in the same movie. You could do that. That would work. That would make sense. I don't know how the heck. I don't know how the heck you would fit. I know that they wanted to bring in Rom the Space Knight, and I know the Micronauts were in their plan.
And Mask as well, yeah.
But I know I would assume the Power Rangers are in that plan now too. So
maybe. And the Power Rangers is a beloved '90s franchise, so
yeah. So I don't know. All I know is not another Battleship movie, please. Please not another Battleship movie. Let's just not do that again. Hey,
listen, I'm on a battleship.
Yeah.
And tomorrow they announced that the Bumblebee trailer is out tomorrow.
Is it really?
Yeah, and now it's confirmed that Bumblebee is pretty much going to be the reboot. of the Transformers franchise, which there will not be one in 2019 because they took that off the docket for 2019. But we know this bit. But Hasbro's kind of in the reorganizing stages already because the last G.I. Joe was a debacle because of the reshoots they had to do, which didn't coincide with the toy line. And so Hasbro's trying to, like all these other studios, like tried with Universal, they tried with obviously Hasbro. They want to make their own MCU, and it's not an easy thing to do, and it really makes you appreciate Infinity War a whole lot more.
Well, and in fairness, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I think, and it's just, I'm sure there'll be people who will disagree with me, but there's more of a built-in audience to see an Iron Man movie and to see Thor and Captain America and those heroes than there was for a Mummy movie, a Frankenstein movie. I just don't know that's. I don't think that was there. I just don't. I think
you ask most 20-year-olds today, they're not going to know that the Mummy and Frankenstein and Dracula all came from the same movie studio putting out these monster movies back in the 30s and 40s.
Honestly, I think they'd have been better off going. If anything, it's funny because they would have been better off going with the strategy that Warner Brothers tried to do with the Justice League, which is to shoehorn it all in. They'd have been better off going that way, which is put them all together in one crazy movie where they're all out there or you start it where they all come loose in one movie, and then the next few movies is either to hunt them down or have them in all these other movies and do it that way. I think that would have been better than, ironically, the reboot that this comes back to earlier, which featured Tom Cruise. That, I almost hate to say it, the other part was there were definitely people who were like, yeah, I liked the Brendan Fraser version better from the 90s, and it's like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I just like, yeah.
We have our hits and misses, and we have our likes and dislikes, and in this, I remember I was watching all the trailers for Solo, and there was one guy in the audience who kept saying, at the end of every trailer, the guy was saying aloud, either upvote, downvote, downvote. Like that in this world of Reddit that we live in, where it's all about likes and dislikes.
Well, but we all do that.
Yeah, we do.
Especially now, like Solo. When I went to go see Solo, there was 20 minutes of previews, and it's like,
was your theater sold out?
Yeah, actually, it kind of was.
There were a lot of empty seats when I saw it Friday night of the premiere for Solo. So this was a Friday before Memorial Day. We saw it, and there were a lot of empty seats.
I saw it on, and here's the best, Memorial Day at 10:30 in the morning, and that theater was packed.
Really?
That theater was absolutely packed.
Interesting.
I mean, it wasn't like, okay, I can just go get a seat wherever I want. No, it was full. I was really kind of surprised because everybody's talking about, well, nobody's really coming to see the movie, and I'm like, okay, so I expect it to be pretty easy on Memorial Day to show up at a 10:30 Solo movie, and I'm like, nope, this theater. It was funny. I showed up last minute, and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, well, there can't be that many people in there. I walk in, I'm like, okay, all the seats I was thinking about are gone. But speaking of gone, as usual, time to get into the fun parts of wrap up, which is, I don't know if you saw this story, Mike.
What's that?
FBI agent loses his gun during dance backflip, accidentally shoots bar patron.
Holy crap.
This is an actual CNN story. This actually came out on Monday, last Monday, or no, today. This one's out there today. An FBI agent, and there's video of this if you want to go look at it. An FBI agent's backflip at a club looked pretty impressive until he lost his gun and accidentally shot someone. Video of the off-duty agent showed him unleashing a torrent of dance moves at a Denver bar early Saturday before launching into a back handspring.
And so the gun was dislodged from his holster?
Apparently so, because it says, but mid-flip, his weapon flew out from his waistband holster. The agent lunged for the gun, but accidentally fired it as he was picking it back up, Denver police said.
Oh my gosh.
One person was struck in the lower leg, but is expected to survive. Agent has not been identified or arrested. The agent may face criminal charges. But
probably not for his sick dance moves, but for, obviously.
Yeah, well, just crazy. Just, here's a thought. If you're going to do a crazy dance move, maybe
not have a deadly weapon in a holster.
Yeah. Or here's an idea. Safety?
Yeah. Why didn't you have the safety on? Of course, because I'm an FBI agent.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness the patron didn't die.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, I don't know because it doesn't tell me what kind of gun or there's none of those details. So I'm assuming, though, you could put the safety on. Or here's an idea. Remove the clip. I don't know. Something where I don't know. Maybe it's just me. It's like I understand you're off duty and you have the right to carry a weapon, but man, if you're gonna go dancing, maybe you should put that one away.
Something right out of a Will Ferrell comedy.
Yeah, really. Let's see what else we got. From if it's weird and crazy, it had to have happened in Kentucky. Here's one.
I got friends in Kentucky, so just tread lightly.
No, stop doing crazy stuff.
No mercy.
No mercy. Hey, you know what? We hammered Wisconsin for 2 shows straight. We'll hit Kentucky now.
Yeah, that's right. Sure, it's true. But Wisconsin's people, they're proud of their crazy fan.
Yeah. Well, as we're recording it is National Cheese Day, and ironically, heard nothing from Wisconsinites because they're like, "Oh, it's just a normal day for us." It's like,
that's right.
Oh God.
Every day is National Cheese Day.
Right. So in Kentucky, let me tell you how crazy Kentucky is. Huffington Post has a section now called Weird Kentucky. Okay. I will admit this is from a 2015 story apparently. Man digs up dad's grave to argue with corpse, police say. Attempts to bury old wounds by digging up a corpse has landed a Kentucky man behind bars. Michael May, 44, was arrested Monday evening after an officer saw him digging up a grave at a cemetery in Sanford, Kentucky. May told the arresting officer he was there to dig up the grave of his father so he could argue with him. The arresting officer also said that May seemed intoxicated and quoted Bible verses when confronted. There you go.
Okay. Happy Father's Day.
Yeah, really. Yeah, Father's Day coming up very shortly. When in doubt, go to the cemetery, get drunk first, then try to dig up your father, and then quote Bible verses.
Okay. All right. That sounds about right for our weird news. That's definitely weird.
Apparently, this is part of the line of questioning. Do you feel you were violating a grave? No, I see the truth. He needs to be on the ground, not under it. Okay.
That's why they have their crypts above ground up by New Orleans, because they can't bury it because of the sea level, or whatever.
Yeah. Like I said.
Okay.
Yeah, that like I said. Oh, hold on. I have to look at this. This sounds too funny. Okay, this is 2013.
Okay. We got one more before we can get out of here?
Just the title all by itself makes me laugh. Again, this is a 2013 story. I'll try to find something a little bit more current from Kentucky. Alleged carpet lint. A man allegedly eats carpet lint after smoking meth in Kentucky. Police say a 50-year-old admitted to smoking crystal meth before going into a Burlington coat factory store and having a veritable feast. The store employees told the police they found him in the shoe section chowing down on carpet lint. He allegedly said he was... Wait for it. He allegedly said he was eating sparkles.
Okay.
The police arrived at the scene, and he was carrying Lortabs, a bag of crystal meth, and a bag of mysterious white powder, and a bag of unidentified pills. He was charged with possession of a controlled substance and public intoxication. As it was pointed out, this is not what carpet munching is supposed to entail. But I'm bullshit.
Oh.
Thank you. We'll be here all the week. If you've got ideas for weird news, please, by all means, you can send them to
sotrtpodcast@gmail.com. We are on Twitter and Instagram at sotrtpodcast. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We appreciate you listening. And since Ivan's not here, I'm going to plug it for him anyway. Ivan is a disc jockey at Logan Hardware Records. It's at 2532 West Fullerton Avenue here in Chicago. And they're on logan-hardware.com. And we appreciate you listening. We truly do. Any comments, suggestions, please throw them our way. We deeply appreciate it. And we hope to see you, or at least hear from you, or let you hear from us on a very next episode, which is coming. We're trying to get this out on a regular basis now.
Yeah. I mean, that's the plan. Obviously, we're going to try to do one for next week.
Yeah, we found out today that Ivan couldn't be with us today, and some of us were like, well, what about the next one? I was like, oh, let's just soldier on, because I've got a busy week ahead of me anyway, so this was the only night of the week I could do it, and we're trying to make this a steady thing for you, our loyal listeners. We appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you got going this weekend? Anything fun?
This weekend is nothing. Last weekend, actually, the other day, I want to talk about this at the beginning of the show, but we just got right into solo because I made that stupid joke. But yeah. Sunday, I went to a 50th wedding anniversary party for a friend's parents of mine, and very, very dear people. I've known them since I was in the 4th grade when I met their son in school, obviously, as a young child. Back in the 4th grade, and they invited me because I was pretty much like the Fonz to their Mr. and Mrs. Cunningham. Going over there, I spent many a summer at their house, hanging out with Dave and Andrew, and it was a really good time, and really puts things in perspective as appreciating the company you keep and who constitutes family. And they've been like, maybe not an extra set of parents, but there's still just family to me. And it was a really nice gathering. Some very kind things were said, and there were some few dry eyes at the beginning of certain speeches. So it was a wonderful event. I'm glad to have gone, and I'm glad that they invited me. Of course, it was a wonderful day at a great time. And like I said, and it's hard because you have friends and family who are no longer with us. And it was a few months after my parents' 50th wedding anniversary when my father passed away. And that was a pretty rough time. The worst, actually, for me. So it was very nice, and it was a great celebration, and I appreciate the fact that they invited me. But I had a great weekend, though, too. Memorial Day was really good, too. It was still a little busy in between, of course, but was still very fun. But this weekend I don't have anything planned. I was just going to go to the flea market, maybe, and just get some yard work done in between all this rain. We've had a bit of rain. It was cold April, so now the grass is growing really hard, really fast. But no, if I can catch that Mr. Rogers documentary, I might do that on the weekend. We'll see.
Yeah, like I said, I'm trying to think just in general. What do I got this weekend?
Well, you said you wanted to see Ocean's 8.
I do. I'm probably going to see Ocean's 8 with my mom, maybe my aunt too.
Okay.
Seems like a nice thing I can do with family. That's the kind of movie that they like. And in fairness, I have no problem with going to see it. So, to me, I think it'll be interesting to see what they do with it, and I hope it works because I like a lot of the people in it. So we'll see where it goes. Let's see what else. Saturday, actually, I'm going to be at an event in the afternoon. It's more geared towards, for people who are not aware, when I'm not doing this and I'm not doing my day job, which is promotional products, I also do some coaching and presenting. And we're going to have Omid Kazavarian, and he is a peak performance strategist for the Tony Robbins team. And he's going to be at the Niles Library at 6960 West Oakton. And that's going to happen from 1:30, I think, till about 3:30. Although I think it's supposed to be really an hour. It's about how to take your hour and really turn it into something impressive, and it should be interesting. Sunday night I'm out at Windy City Professional Speakers, and otherwise that's kind of my weekend. I think. And then it's funny, I think next weekend's kind of a Toastmasters weekend too, between that and Father's Day. But I other than that, that's kind of where I'm at, and struggling to find things to watch on, new stuff to watch on TV that I can start looking at. So we'll see.
So great. So I think that'll do it. So on behalf of Gemstein, I'm Mike Boyle. We appreciate you listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Live long and prosper, and all that. May the Ford by the Schwartz be with you, and up and away.
Okay.
I think that about
Bye,
covers
everybody.
it. I think that covers it.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks for playing.
Thank you for playing. Please pull to the second window.